What is going on, guys? It is Com here, and I'm back with another video. It's rather different from all my other videos. I just wanted to talk about the Mother series, like Earthbound, Mother, the whole series, because, I finally completed all 3 of the games, and I'm very impressed with them, and they're not just RPGs, to me, they're not just more RPGs, but they're really well developed, to be honest. There's so many unique things that separate it from every other RPG games. I mean, most RPG games are just similar as like story and battle, but the Mother series is good at not being generic, if you know what I'm talking about. I'm gonna say spoiler free as much as possible until the end of the video. I'll give you time to click off and whatnot, but I just, many people have not played this game and they're really old, don't get me wrong, that's probably why, because they're rather old, but some people see this game and they, someone may want to know more about the series, so that's kind of what this video is about. If you know what it's about but you don't want to try it out, or if you have and you just didn't like it, try it, give it some time, I wanted to watch a video on the game I knew nothing about. I'd want it to be spoiler free, so that's why I'm making it spoiler free, but that's just me. Because if you want to learn about a game, you don't just want to be like, oh, the bosses, but the spoilers will come to the end if you do want to learn about spoilers for some reason. These games have their pros and their cons. I'm obviously going to be focusing on their pros, because why would you want to talk about a good game's like the bad side of it? Anyways, let's jump right into Earthbound Beginnings, or Mother Zero, or Earthbound Zero, I don't know. The game was actually really good for an NES game, and the battle system is not that bad for being on the NES. One flaw I know everybody will talk about is the random encountering is just way too overboard. And yes, it is for an RPG, but it always seemed like whenever I needed to grind, the random encounters would just stop, and like it would come like every minute. But I don't know, that's just me. But let's be honest though, I don't know if like when the RPG started, but it was the NES, random encounters, it was pretty decent for being on the NES, if if you get what I'm saying. This game had so many good things that made a good foundation for the series. It was the first game, it was pretty good, which in my opinion made it kind of hard, because what made it kind of hard was the fact that it didn't really tell you where to go. It was just because it's like an NES game, there's a lot of other NES games that didn't tell you where to go, but there's always guides, and yes, I did follow a guide for Earthbound Beginnings, but it didn't tell me where to go. That's in my defense, but I still enjoyed it. There were many straightforward things as what you needed to do, though. It wasn't, they hinted, but there were some that were just like, oh, we should check this out, so it was pretty straightforward there. This game was very from the beginning to the end. It had me ready to play Earthbound once I finished Earthbound Beginnings. One thing I want to point out for the series as a whole is the menus. They're very well organized as far as items, PSI, and whatever is really needed. The series did not, the series did a really good job on being organized and whatnot. I've talked about Earthbound Beginnings a lot. Now, let's move on to Earthbound. This game was very fun and always kept me on my toes. There was always something that needed to be done. In other words, you weren't just going to sit down for a few minutes and play this game. You needed a 4-letter word known as time. Don't get me wrong, there are still moments where there was a great stopping point, like after a boss or after buying new equipment. That's normally whenever I would stop, after buying new equipment, because, you get to save, and it was always a great place to stop. But I always wanted to know what would happen next, which is probably why I played it when I had some time on me, because it's like, you do something, and you're like, oh man, what's gonna happen? I'm sure there's a lot of other games that have that same aspect. But enough about that. There were a lot of fun, interesting things to do. Not like side quests or anything, but there's this like weird photo man that takes your picture throughout the game, and if you want, you can get every picture if you're a completionist, but not much happens. There's not much that happens except for satisfaction. And at the end of the game, I don't know if this, I wouldn't count this as a spoiler, but it just shows you all the pictures. It's like you're just looking through a camera or whatever. That's basically what you're doing. One thing this series is good at having is humor. Even in the worst scenario, say something bad happens, well, there's always there's always going to be that one character or something that, says something stupid or something and just makes you cringe, I know another game like this, but let's stay on this topic. That is something I admire about the series. A lot of games, if something bad happens, they're like, oh no, they freak out, the characters freak out and whatnot. They're not. There's never something that'll make you, laugh or something. One thing that's considered silly about the series is the enemies. The enemies. This is because the designs and the names, and they go hand in hand. It's basically a pun, and I mean, it's something I like about the series. But Nintendo games as a whole, they have many great enemies that fit the design and the names. Overall, Earthbound was a great game that I might even replay it if I'm up to you, and maybe even on the channel, because why the heck not? Anyways, now to get on to the third Mother game, Mother 3. This is my favorite one out of all of them, and it's obviously, we don't have an American version or anything, but thanks to the fan translation, I was able to play Mother 3 and understand it. This was icing on the cake for the whole series. It had it all. Like, what I mean by that is by saying the pros of Earthbound and the pros of Earthbound Beginning smacked into one game, and that made it so much better. And one thing I believe the two other games lacked was personality for each character. And Mother 3 does a perfect job for that. There's so many other characters that have their own personality. Lucas, for example. He's the younger brother of the two twins, and he is rather shy and quiet, while Wes, who is an old man, is rather open about things. That's just two examples of personalities. Nintendo and NES did not really have much as a personality as Lucas did, which really kind of caught my interest whenever I saw that Lucas was like, he wasn't just another main character. He wasn't just another NES or whatever. Mother 3 did something I was not expecting from the two Earthbound games, and that was a twist on the story. Now, what I mean by the twist is that we were able to see certain parts of the story from different people's perspectives, which was really interesting, because I was like, didn't I already do that? But then I was like, wait, we're playing as a different group of people, so that was really cool. Now, the music of the Mother series is amazing, and that's honestly a big part of video games. If it has a good soundtrack, then I'm probably gonna like it. I mean, of course, don't get me wrong, I look for good gameplay too, but I'm not really much of a graphics person. But if it has really bad graphics, then no, don't expect me playing it. But if it has good music and good gameplay, that's it for me. It's a good game. The music is just, it's really nice, and Mother 3, they put classical music in there. I mean, I'll take it. Mother 3 did really good as playing a big role in the series, because like it kind of filled in gaps that Earthbound and Earthbound Beginnings could have just kind of left out, And you could run. I mean, you could run in Mother 0, Earthbound Beginnings. You could run in there. You could also run in Mother 3, but I don't know why you couldn't run in Earthbound, but it's okay. And one thing about the game is the battle system. This is probably one of the big reasons that Mother 3 is definitely my favorite Mother game, and that is because it's not just a battle system. It's a rhythm battle system. Let that process through your mind. Okay, so you hear the song, and then like you tap the remote. You hit the A button to attack, and then at the certain times, and like it's like 1, 2, 3, 4, and then you hit 1, 2, 3, 4 at the perfect timing, and it's like rhythm based. It's really cool. You can get up to 16 hits, and yeah, I thought it was gonna be really hard to do at first, and then no, it was pretty easy. Now, enough about the series as a whole. It's a really good series. I really suggest you check them out. It's really fun. You would enjoy it. I mean, I enjoyed it. I mean, I'm hoping you would enjoy it. I mean, you may not, but maybe not an RPG person. That's okay. That's okay. I'm just here to let people know my thoughts on the series. But I mean, I'm gonna get into spoilers now. So if you want to leave, I'm not keeping you. Go check out the game. Download a ROM file for all I care, So yeah, if you're gonna leave because you don't want to be a part of the spoilers, then see you in the next video. Alright, last call for spoilers. If if you don't click off now, you will be spoiled. Now, one thing about NES, Nintendo, and Lucas, they all die whenever you get a game over. For real though, this is the last call for spoilers. Alright. Now another cool thing about the Mother series are the bosses. Not just the final bosses, but the mini bosses. There's always like a strategy or some way to make the fight super easy to the point where you're just gimping it. Like there's this one fight in Earthbound where you just have to use paralysis or something like that. And then like they can't move, or yeah, I believe it was something like that. And then when I found that out, I was like, you just practically gimping the fight. All they could do was PSI, but once the boss ran out of PSI, they're done. I mean, there's not much they can do. But this is mainly just for the early bosses. You know, you can't gimp every boss. You know, of course the difficulty does move up. And Mother 3 did a good example of that. It like the difficulty like just spiked up, and like I had to grind like a lot of levels. But that's the thing about RPGs. You know, if you don't have to grind at all, then I don't know. Maybe, I mean, sure, there are boring parts about grinding, because it's just like you're doing the same thing over and over, you know, you're just fighting enemies. But you know, if you don't have to grind, then that's a pretty cool aspect, because it's like you can just play the game through. But stopping and grinding is something interesting to do. I don't know, it's just interesting to me. Now I know this really doesn't sound like spoilers, but now we're gonna get into the bosses, the final bosses. Now Mother Zero's final boss, Gaig, you need to use the sing option and sing the 8 melodies to him. You know, and you keep doing that until you get the whole song through, and then you beat the game. And one interesting thing is like the story from Earthbound Zero. You're basically just going across the whole like world of Earthbound, and you're finding all the melodies, the 8 lost melodies, and once you learn them all, you get to go to this one place called Magicant, which I want to talk about now. Magicant is something very important to the Earthbound series, but one thing that kind of struck me was how Mother 3 had no Magicant whatsoever, which really interested me. And Mother Zero did the perfect job on Magicant. Like, you could imagine it, that's exactly how I would imagine it. Earthbound's, Mother 2's Magicant was rather strange, I'm gonna be honest, but it was still there. But Mother Zero gets the icing on the cake for that one, for Magicant. Mother 2's final boss was Gygus, and you have to use you just have to play through it completely. Like, okay, what I'm trying to say is you have to defeat. So the first phase, you get this weird egg-looking thing with a picture of Ness's face, and then you have Pokey, which is the stupid, stubborn kid. And he's in his little machine, and you just have to attack Pokey until he's like, alright, whatever, let's expose the final boss. And then you just have to beat the final boss, and then once you get into the final phase where he's like freaking out and everything, you have to use, keep Paula alive, and you have to make Paula use the pray option like 9 times, and then you're done. And it's a really cool aspect. And finally, Mother 3. You must stay alive. Like, there's no other way to beat it. You know, you just have to stay alive as Hinawa, which is Lucas's mother, who died in the beginning of the game by a wild Drago, which is a dragon-like enemy. Claus went out for revenge, and he was lost, which Claus is Lucas's twin brother, the older one. He went out for revenge on the dragon, got lost, and was taken by Porky, the antagonist, and he brainwashed him so he could fulfill his evil schemes through Claus. Because throughout the game, you're reminded that there are these pins that need to be pulled out of the ground, and well, they don't need to be, but they can be, and if all of them are pulled out, the final one that's pulled out, if the person who pulled it out has a good heart, then the dragon will be a good dragon. But so Porky was like, oh, let's pull him out. So he brainwashed Claus, and yeah, used him because Porky couldn't pull him out, because the only people that could pull him out are people able to use the PSI or PK love, or whatever you put on as your favorite thing at the start of the game. But yeah, Claus and Lucas are the only ones able to do that. But anyways, you just have to survive the fight against Claus. until Kiwana finally just keeps talking, and then finally Claus realizes it, and he takes off like his mask and whatnot, and then he shoots a lightning bolt at Lucas. But the thing is, Lucas had the Franklin badge and reflected the lightning bolt, and ultimately that killed Claus, which was very sad to me. But as like throughout the game, you're like I don't know, like I kind of figured out that the Masked Man, which is Claus, I figured out it was Claus pretty early on, and then whenever I found out like he shot the bolt, I was like, shoot, the Franklin badge, and yep, that's exactly what happened, which is rather sad. But you know, it was kind of a heart-wrenching plot twist in a way. It's like Lucas has like a really rough life, and that's just the final boss. And yeah, it was pretty cool. There's so much that happened at the end of Mother 3. I could just make a whole separate video if I wanted, but I'm not going to do that. This video is about the whole Mother series, and I think it's one of my favorite series as like the whole video gaming history. There's so many amazing things about the series that make it such a great experience. I suggest playing the game if you haven't, but I'm guessing you have if you've stayed this far past the spoilers. I just wanted to get my thoughts out there on this series, because there's not many fans out there. I mean, there's a nice, decent chunk, but there really isn't many people. But yeah, thank you for watching this video. I highly suggest trying out one of the Earthbound games. Just any of them, really. I mean, if you want to go straight from Mother 3, then who am I keeping you? But thank you for watching this video. Like and subscribe for more content. Expect some Smash Ultimate World of Light. I want to talk about that in the next episode of World of Light, obviously. Anyways, peace.